Right. Hello, Wonderland.
Do you like anime? Well, so do we. So today, we're gonna rate some of the animes we've watched together. And here is our tier list. At the top here, we have Wonderful. This is the creme de la creme, the top of the pop, the queen of the ball, the best. The ones we like the best. Here we have Painting the Roses Red.
And I spelled red wrong.
And who cares, because these are the anime that are trying to be good, and they're almost there, but they need a bit of color. Down here we have A Handsome Pig, because, as Cheshire told me, a pig is still a pig, no matter what tux it wears. Down the rabbit hole are the animes that are alright, but they're more bad than they're good. And the same with The Handsome Pig, they're alright, but they're more good than they're bad. And down here we have Off with Their Heads. You've lost your case in the Queen's Court, and you are going to get decapitated because you suck. Who are you? Are the animes that we don't really remember, so who are they? Who knows? Who cares? Let's go.
But we're not going to agree on all the animes. There's some animes that I remember and somehow Alice doesn't remember. So this is going to be interesting. But I guess we'll start off with, we said we're going to have one choice where the other person cannot argue where it goes. Like our top anime that cannot be up for discussion. So I will go first. And my first choice is Death Note. So some of you may remember from my Visual K video that I said that Death Note was my first ever anime. And I really just can't get enough of how much I love Death Note. Even if it was my first anime, and it probably may have been better anime, I just loved it. I didn't know there's animation like this, and it just brought me to the world of anime. So, Death Note will be going to the Wonderful, and Alice can't argue with that. Do you want to argue about it? Because it doesn't matter, Alice. This is going to the Wonderful. Death Note, movie to the Wonderful.
Wonderful. I agree with Cheshire that Death Note, it wasn't one of my personal first animes, but it was really good. I liked the anime, I liked the colors, I liked the style, I liked the storyline. You're always really interested and invested. Where it kind of lost me was towards the second season where Nier took over. That took me forever to actually finish it, because it just got a bit monotonous after that for me.
I loved Nier and Mello. I thought they were really good. I don't understand why people don't like Nier and Mello. I thought they were fine. Like, yes, they're not L, and everyone loved L, and I get that. I thought the transition of going to Mello and Nier was just really good. Like, there was this other two detectives that L was training. I just thought that was such a smart idea of L. Like, he knew and planned this all along. So I had no qualms? Is it called qualms? Qualms of L and having been replaced by Mello and Nier. So I loved it. That's why it has to be Wonderful. My best anime I've ever seen.
Onto my choice. And one of the reasons I chose this one to be my You Can't Argue With Me is because Cheshire hasn't seen this, so he can't argue with me either way. So my choice of anime that Cheshire cannot argue against is Clannad. And I think, Clannad, as I said, the colors are really beautiful and vibrant, the designs are very nice. And I just really like the story. It has a good balance of lightheartedness and good times, but also tearjerkers and people working through their issues by using their strengths, and they still have things going against them. They don't just get it at the snap of a hand. Like, yeah, they still have a lot of miracles happen. I just really love it. There are some parts of it that can definitely be better, like the whole other world. I didn't understand that much the first few times I watched it. I'm not sure I entirely still understand it, and I feel like as much as I like, and I'm not going to spoil too much about the after story for people who haven't seen it, but there is a whole ending going on where the illusionary world and the real world somehow merges and makes one wish come true that's like, oh, for everything else you've done that has been realistic, this just isn't, and it just kind of feels like a cop-out to make me feel good instead of sad. But other than that, I feel like it's a really, really well-done anime with a good soundtrack, good voice acting, everything. But I do think I will put it in Painting the Roses Red.
Wow, I thought you were going to put it in Wonderful. By the way, I have seen you play it on our channel, so I know the story. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a big slice of life fan, especially anime slice of life, because it's not realistic at all, and it creates these stereotypes like of how some Japanese people should be like. Painted rose red, fair enough.
Next up on our tier list is the first one that we're gonna discuss together.
Attack on Titan. So for me, I think you introduced me to this. I mean, I heard of it. Everyone's talking about it. It's like one of the most popular animes of the last 5 years. And I really liked the first season. But when the second season came, I just couldn't be bothered. I don't know. I mean, it's a good story, like a really interesting concept. But actually, we're watching an anime now called The Promised Neverland, which has similar vibes. And I think that's a lot better in terms of the characters and stuff like that. The characters in here were good. I like Levi. Levi was such a cool character. And what's the main character called?
I don't remember. While Cheshire figures out that, I'll add on to Attack on Titan. I think I saw someone or heard someone talk about one of the things it had going against it with the second season was it was almost a year after the first season or something.
Eren.
Oh yeah, Eren!
Yeah,
Eren Yeager!
So that's how much this anime made an impact, but I still couldn't remember the main character. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I heard someone say one of the things this one had going against it was there was a really long time between first season and second season coming out, so the momentum got lost, which I can definitely see because I remember us watching the first season and we were really interested, and there was something towards the ending of the first season that I cannot remember for the life of me, but something that made it so that we weren't really invested in watching the second season. Attack on Titan for me also have this thing going against it that it's very typical storyline. You have your little protagonist guy who's a very ordinary guy living an ordinary life. He's very bland, anyone can insert themselves in him, and suddenly he has like superpowers.
Yeah.
Like it's very, you've seen this story a million times before. And the only thing that really makes it interesting is the lore surrounding it. With many of these stories, that's true, but for some of the stories that does this lore, there's still something about the characters that make you a bit more invested, and I feel like even that they didn't manage with most of these characters. It was mostly just the lore you came from.
Yeah. So, now is the moment to, I would say, down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I would say somewhere between a handsome pick and down the rabbit hole, because I feel like it's still a really beautiful anime. Like when you watch it, even the picture you can see they went so much into detail with the eyes and the faces and the hair and the background and the music. Everything about it was just grander than life, but it just didn't hit the head on the nail at all.
That's true. The animation, the fight scenes were actually really good. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I would be more inclined to put it in a handsome pick.
Okay, so let's put it between, because I was very adamant you should go down the rabbit hole, but I did, now that you mention it, I do think the animation drawing was really good, considering the story wasn't really for me after a while. So should we put it between?
Let's put it between.
Okay.
We'll put it on the line. Because we can do that, because it's our tier list, and we can do what we want with it.
Okay, yes. Okay, next up is
Tokyo Ghoul. I remember bits and pieces of Tokyo Ghoul. What I remember is it had a pretty interesting story, an interesting city, an interesting lore. Again, like many of these anime, like very like Attack on Titan, it had a really beautiful style. The city was well made, the character designs were well made, the voices were good, the music was good. But I remember towards the ending, both Cheshire and I was like, this is getting really weird, we're not watching the second season.
Yeah, that, I don't know, I really didn't like the last couple of episodes. Like, especially the fight scene in the last episode, where we just felt like, oh crap, we realized we don't have any more episodes to make after this. We got told we meant to make, how many was the first season? 12 episodes in the first season, right? So they were like, oh, we only have 12 episodes, so the last 2 episodes, they just rushed in. If they had like 15 episodes for that season, I think they could have been a lot better. I mean, the storyline was really good, the characters were really interesting, but the ending really put me off, because everyone said the second season's not bad, like it's pretty decent, but I'm just like, that last episode is like, there is so much going on, and it took so much time with everything, and then rushing it now is just like, that was bad planning, whoever planned it. So it's not even the writer's fault, it's the director's fault, because for me, this is down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I would say down the rabbit hole for me as well. Like, this is not something I would invest in watching again just to watch the second season. This is a very much like, oh yeah, first half of the show was good, second half it just went down and down and down the rabbit hole. Next up is...
One Punch Man. This anime right here. Like, there was a time, I can't remember, I think it was after Attack on Titan. That's how much Attack on Titan affected on me. Like, I got done with anime. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch some shows now. I watched One Punch Man. First season, oh my god, this made fun of all the tropes in anime. The storyline, the idea of like this one man, Saitama, can just punch something and everyone will destroy. And that's his like actual weakness because he's so bored of fighting. The idea of story, I love Genos. Everything about this is good. The art style, if we're talking about Attack on Titan, how good the art style was, the art style, the animation, the amount of detail that went into the fight scenes and every little character connection when they start fighting is just great. The voice acting is funny. The range of characters is hilarious and it's just amazing and creative. I can't say much more how great this anime was. The second season for me, it wasn't bad. I understand why people didn't like it. Again, the animation was definitely maybe 1 or 2 steps below the first season because they got new animators in because they had to rush it, and the original animators had to work on another anime called, I think it may have been Boogie Pop. So that's understandable, but the story was still solid. So if I give the first season 10 out of 10, which I do, then I give the second season 8 out of 10. So I'm going wonderful for this.
And I agree a lot with Cheshire, with you.
We are agreeing too much. This is getting boring.
No, look, like, because I really agree with you that the first season of this one was amazing. Like you said, the level of detail in the fighting scenes, the level of details in the character designs, in their personalities. They had reasons for doing what they were doing, like at least the ones we met the most. That one gag they had with the bicycle guy who kept coming back had me on the
amazing.
Floor. and it's just like, yeah, it's so fun to see this trope, because usually when you see characters like One Punch Man who can just punch and then everyone dies, they always like are very eager to go out and save the world, and One Punch Man is just like, this is so boring, I want a real fight. He's lacking that real fight. And Genos, who just becomes the apprentice and worships the earth Saitama walks on, is just so hilarious. The chemistry they have, how they bounce off of each other. And yeah, the second season definitely did go a bit, like, not much down the drain, but I remember we were not as invested, we were not as happy with it.
I was. Well, hold on, you must be. I was.
Oh, you were?
I was. It's just animation. I was there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember what it was. It was the fighting scenes that they took out of the fighting scenes, so it became really boring to watch after a while, which was sad.
That's my opinion. Not my opinion.
I would say One Punch Man goes to wonderful.
Yeah, me too. All right. Next up is
Psychopaths. For me, Psychopaths is one of those, it's a really good anime, but it takes some mental energy to get through it. And it's taken us like 3 times to watch it or something, and we're not even done yet.
Yeah.
Like, far from it. But I think it's also because when we watch the anime, we end up talking about each episode. So each episode is like, I think 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And we end up talking after for like 20 minutes about each episode, because this show shows this utopian city and the characters have each their thoughts and opinions on the city. So it kind of invites you to have conversations about the city. The anime style is great, the characters are great, they have a good balance. What do you think?
I think the fact that we haven't finished it and we have to keep trying 2 or 3 times means that it's not very good, is it?
Yeah, like there are some parts of it where it kind of throws you up. Like the place we are now is all about some cyberspace avatars. That's kind of difficult to get through. There's something about it where it like loses its pace.
I agree, yeah. There's just so much to go through here. And it feels like walking through mud. It's a very good idea.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of Serial Experiments Lane, where it's really slow paced and it has all these deep philosophical ideas. So it's not that it's bad, it just takes so much energy to get through. And the pace is not what you're used to. And Psychopaths has that same thing, that they have some scenes where it's really actiony, you're super invested, but for the most part it has like a kind of slow, you need to really like detective shows where they go into detail pace.
Yeah. I think that's a very good comparison as well. I really didn't like the main character. I don't like her. I think she's very annoying.
Yeah.
I like the crew that she's working with, all of them, but she's really annoying. in my opinion.
I don't know if I find her annoying, but it's like you can definitely tell she's a product of this utopian city, and she has trouble going against it even when you know. Like, it's been made clear that she knows she should probably go against it. Like, the animators do something with her face, so it's like you can see that she's kind of thinking, I should probably go against it. And she probably has some thoughts and ideas about it.
So where would you put it?
I don't know. I think maybe somewhere between Painting the Roses Red and The Handsome Pig.
It's because the storyline is a really good storyline, and well, I sounded quite negative, but it is a very good storyline, and they had very good action scenes, stuff like that. I would just go Handsome Pig. I wouldn't put it Painting the Roses Red. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone.
Next up is
Ghost Hound. Now this is an old anime. This came out like in 2008, I think, or 2007. I enjoyed it. It's about a boy called Taro who and his friends start seeing ghosts in their neighborhood, in the area, and they manage to go into the ghost realm. I'm not giving the best explanation, but that is essentially the storyline, right? I liked it. I remember liking the animation, considering the time it was that. It had a really good soundtrack, and visuals were really nice, how they presented the ghosts. I remember them going to the ghost world, unseen world, the story of why the ghosts are coming, and also how it relates to the characters. And I'm not explaining it very well, but it was a pretty cool storyline.
Yeah.
It's not something I always remember to recommend, but I do when I think about, oh yeah, Ghost Town was a really good anime.
Yeah, and it's really fun because I don't remember much of it, which is kind of dumb because I'm the one who recommended it. Because I found it ages ago, and I saw the first episode like 500 times, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting, and I never got around to watching the second episode. And so because we were watching Serial Experiments Lane and stuff, I was like, oh, let's try and watch this. And I finally managed to finish watching it with you for the first time. I just remember that first episode so vividly because it's just these flies crawling around this dead corpse of a girl, and then Taro's eyes in the sky following her around. I remember being invested in it when we saw it, but again, like Cheshire said, it's so long since we watched it now that honestly I can't remember much about it other than when I finally got around to watching it, I was invested, and it has a very, not as heavy hitting as Serial Experiments Lane and not as slow paced. Like, it still has that same kind of pace, but not to the point where you give up on it when you finally get into it. Like, you know, with Psychopaths, we kind of gave up on it, but with this one, yeah, it took us time to finish, but we still finished it.
Yeah. So I would say 60% of it is in Handsome Pig, 40% is in Painted Rose Red. I think it's a little bit higher than Psychopaths.
Yeah.
I would recommend, it's honestly to me, give me a good mystery anime, and those were two things that came to my mind. I'll try Ghost Hound.
Yeah, try Ghost Hound.
Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think maybe put it between A Handsome Pig and Painting the Roses Red would be more fair, because I don't think it's entirely up in Painting the Roses Red, because we would remember more about it if it was up there.
Yeah, okay. So that was our part 1 anime tier list, and we went through a lot of anime, and we have a whole lot of animes to go through. So see you again next week for part 2. See you guys there.